then when tennis is going great, you've been on the road for 5 weeks, and your teachers are calling you, yelling at you, where are you? You have to come into class. You're like, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. I swear I'll get this stuff in before graduation, I promise. And when you make that happen at the end of the day, and you accomplish everything you need to in both, it just builds your confidence even more. And it all starts way earlier, for me anyway. Yeah. So.
I mean, I laugh because I can relate to what you're saying, like with the classwork. I don't know. For me, a big part of it, both in the classroom and on the court, was I had never ever. I had a great high school basketball coach. I had a great college basketball coach, but I had never been pushed as hard ever in my life until I came here, both academically and athletically. My athleticism grew here by leaps and bounds because we were pushed so hard.
I'm in the same boat. When I came to Stanford and first experienced Stanford men's gymnastics, it was almost like a slap in the face, in a great way, in retrospect. Because our coaches just pushed us so hard. And on top of that, the caliber of student athlete, both in the sports, in our gym, and also in the classroom, was just so high that there was just this expectation and this assumption that you were going to live up to this incredible standard. And I think setting a very high precedent and very high standards for ourselves is really what, I guess, motivates me and also motivates a bunch of my teammates to be high achievers. So, yeah, and so let's talk for a bit about the psychology of great athletes. So perhaps most people in the sports world imagine that great athletes are great because of their athletic prowess, because they were gifted with some incredible genes. I'd like to hear your perspectives on why athletes are great athletes. What distinguishes them? And then perhaps you could kind of give us a perception of what psychology you adopt when you step out onto the competition floor.
I guess what I believe, let me start. I started playing basketball when I was 11, which is very late for a lot of people. And I remember when I first started playing, I was airballing layups. And I was not very good at all. And I didn't like it because I enjoyed playing. And so I guess once I started practicing and understanding the game, being a student of the game, and understanding teamwork, things started getting better. And as I kept experiencing different things in basketball, and a lot of great things started coming, what I'd have to take away most is, I think what separates really great players from, I guess, other people is that when you go out there and play, it's not about how well you do. It's about what you're contributing and how you can kind of insert yourself into, I mean, I play team sports, so insert yourself into the role that you should assume. And you have a lot of people, you have a unit depending on you. And so the one thing that I find really disappointing in some great players is that, like you were saying about the whole ego, big personalities come with big egos. If a game is played well, and if your team wins a game and you didn't play well, there's no reason why you should be unhappy. And I think that sometimes people don't understand that, because when your team doesn't do well, like, for example, last game of this past season, I played well. My team lost. I would have been much happier if I had scored 0 points and we had won the game. And I think that is a huge, huge attribute that great players really need to have. And they need to understand that it's not all about you. Even if it's an individual sport, you have a support system. And I think that is one really big thing that separates the great from the good. And I think that's something that a lot of people can really take in.
No, I definitely agree. I would say that's the biggest difference in tennis between a freshman and a senior, is the senior knows that no matter how poorly they played, if the rest of the team came through, then it is a celebration in that room after each match, whether it's playing Cal or whether it's playing a team who isn't as good. And then the freshmen, after they lose their match, they're all huffy and puffy in the room afterwards, and you're just like, it's okay, you'll learn eventually. But I just think that the biggest, I don't know, it's hard for me to put my finger on any one thing, but basically I came from a position similar to you, but from a mental standpoint. So when I would go out and practice, I hated practice, would kind of show up for competitions when I was very young. But my coaches would constantly call me a waste of talent, and that if only I had a head on my shoulders, that I would actually do something in this sport. So I, needless to say, did not like playing tennis until I actually won a 12 and under national tournament, hard courts, in Atlanta. And they handed me a gold ball, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I could get used to this. So my mom didn't have to drag me out to practice anymore. And I realized that, if you do work hard, it will pay off. And, I went and played a 14s tournament. I won the 12s tournament, got in the car, played a 14s tournament in Florida. Ended up getting in a car accident the day before the second round. And my neck, just the whiplash a little bit, hurt. And I lost second round, but ended up almost winning the back draw. And I realized that I learned more from that 14s tournament, playing 2 matches a day in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in June, than I did winning the 12s tournament. And so even though I didn't win the 14s, I learned more from that. And so that was a huge lesson for me when I was younger, of just how to approach this game, that you might have had a terrible day at practice, but it might have still been a step forward. And you might not even realize it at the time, how all the different ways that it was a step forward. But it was, as long as you were laying it out there. And aside from that, my coach in Florida, Nick Saviano, who actually played here at Stanford for 2 years before going pro, he's the one who turned me around and made me realize that you have to enjoy something if you want to be the best that you can be at it. And it was tough, when your parents only really want results. They think that's all that matters. Didn't play tennis to the level you did. It's tough to say, Mom, I lost, but I enjoyed myself. That's not what they want to hear. But I worked through that, and I realized I needed to take ownership, that it was my tennis, and it was what I was going to make of it, not what my mom was going to try to make of it. So that's definitely the thing that is applied most generally in life, post-tennis career, and it definitely helped me achieve. At my best times in tennis, I always had that in the forefront of my mind, and at the worst times, I was always grasping for that idea and trying to live it and not just say it. So,
I guess I would add that I've been around some great players, and 2 things come to my mind, and that is, one is communication and one is dedication. And for the dedication piece, I want to use Kevin Garnett as an example, who I played with in Minnesota, who's now playing for the Celtics. Here's a guy who came directly from high school to the NBA. And people sometimes look at NBA players and say, oh, these guys are so young. Kevin Garnett is one of the most level-headed, mature, great guys you will ever meet in your life. Okay? He signed, I think, either 2 or 3 contracts of around the area of $100 million. But the one thing that I noticed is that in the NBA, it is harder to break an NBA contract. NBA contracts are guaranteed. It is harder to break an NBA. Good luck breaking an NBA contract. If there's any lawyers out there, good luck. You can't do it. And so the point is, it's a guaranteed amount. And so what happens to a person's incentive after they're guaranteed X amount over 7 years? I had one of the biggest lessons in character watching Kevin Garnett and how he conducted himself with his work ethic. He was always one of the first guys into practice every day. And he wasn't overworking himself, getting too tired for games, but he was so consistent every single day. He wasn't a guy that was out late at night all the time, which can happen in college sports and in pro sports. He took care himself, he took care of his commitment to the team, and then everything else followed. And the second example is when I have seen some really great athletes, great communication, I think, is a huge part of it. And the example I'm going to use of a great communicator is Latrell Sprewell, who I played with in Minnesota also. And he is a great communicator. We were in the playoffs one year, and we had lost in Sacramento in the West Coast semifinals. And on the flight back, if you guys were just having a drink, relaxing, there was a little bit of laughter. No one really said anything. So the next day, Latrell said, I want a players-only meeting. He called everyone in. First thing he said, I don't want anyone here to take anything personal. But he called out about 6 guys in the room. He said, you were laughing and joking. You were playing a card game. You were doing who knows what. You were talking about girls in the layup line. And he called everyone out. And it spawned this huge dialogue. We ended up winning that series. But I'll never forget that as a great example of a great athlete who was not afraid to communicate.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'd like to, in the interest of time, I'd like to open up questions for the audience. But before then, please join me in thanking these three for all the insights. Cool. So we can take about 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So if anyone has anything to add from the audience. Well, if we're good, I'll ask one more question unless we have. Yeah.
I've already asked far too many questions. Too good an opportunity to pass up. What I wanted to ask was, Stanford is an amazing place, and you've got great coaches and you have great teachers. From whom have you learned the most? The people who teach you in class, the people who teach you in in the athletic arena. Who has shaped you more at Stanford?
I can take this. Honestly, I'd have to say that the people that I go to class with and the people that I play with are the people that have shaped me. Definitely. Obviously, we have great role models in our teachers and our coaches. They're just there to guide us, but I think the true experience is the people that you're with, your age mates and your classmates, your teammates, all those people that you meet, and their experiences add to my own experience. And I learned so much from, students that aren't necessarily athletes, but are in several extracurricular activities. And I learned a lot from my teammates as well as other athletes on other teams. And I definitely have to say that they've played a huge part in kind of shaping my Stanford experience.
I mean, more so than, an English lecture that day, just the random conversation that you have in the hallway with a person that's in your section about, some random country's foreign policy. I mean, hearing their perspective and saying, yeah, that student might have fled that country when they were in Civil War or whatever, and just hearing those kinds of things. Each Stanford student has a story almost as unique as any Stanford athlete's story. And hearing those stories, and it just gives you perspective on your own and all the things that you learn within those stories is just unbelievable.
And I would have to agree that my peers are by far the most influential for me. And I've told some friends this, and I firmly believe it, both with peers in the classroom and peers on my athletic team. At Stanford, we have something that's very unique that I've experienced for the past 5 years, and it's the tendency for peers to believe in each other and to support each other's wildest dreams and aspirations. So I came onto the gymnastics team as a walk-on. I wasn't the top scholar athlete. It wasn't on a full scholarship or anything like that. But what I noticed the day that I walked in that gym was that my peers had full confidence in me. And if I had a dream or a goal, they would look at me square in the eye and they would say, I'm in it. I'm supporting you. This is your goal, and I'm here to help you achieve it. And I think that's something that's really unique, and it's shaped me in many ways. And it's something that's beautiful about this university and about the peers here.